What I love most about that thumbnail is like that's going to be next to a picture of Clint Eastwood from The Mule, and it's just going to look like you aged 60 years. And Spider-Man will be next to me, which I guess is appropriate. I'm dressed kind of like Jake Johnson from this movie. So what did would you like better, the movie or the person kicking her seat behind us?
Oh my god.
I didn't even know that this was happening until the movie was over.
The whole goddamn movie. And it was obvious it wasn't like one of those intentional, like, I'm kicking your seat to be a cunt things. It was obviously somebody that has, like, you know, a twitchy leg.
Yeah.
You know,
oh, sure,
like
sure.
Restless leg syndrome or something.
Yeah.
It was very obvious because there was no, like, pattern, and it was too fast to be on fucking purpose.
Uh-huh.
But God, it was fucking annoying. Like, I don't know if you caught it, like, whole during the movie,
No,
I kept
towards
doing this.
I noticed it towards the end of the movie when you turned around, because that was when I started feeling it too, but that was within the last 5 minutes of the movie.
Yeah.
I didn't realize it was happening throughout the whole movie, so when the ending credits started, and I guess those two sitting behind us got up and left, and I saw you look over at him and go like, oh yeah, go ahead and leave, you just fucking cunts. Like, so I didn't realize they were kicking your seat, so I thought you were just like chastising them for missing the stinger at the end. Like, you lazy sons of bitches, not sitting through the credits.
You have no dedication. There's something wrong with your generation. You're awful. You're all awful.
Started laughing, so I
Like, even if there's not an end credits and you sit here and you appreciate the thousands of animators that worked on this.
Now you're turning into Eastwood a little bit. This was actually like kind of a weird screening all around, because I was at the Mule earlier, and I'll talk about that later on in the video. I was at the Mule earlier, and when it got out, I went to go refill my drink and look behind me, and there was this big line forming that was stretched all the way to the arcade. So I was like, oh, okay, well shit, it's a good thing I'm here early then. So I went ahead and stood in that line. It's about 45 minutes to an hour before Spider-Verse started. So I'm standing in this line for maybe like 20 minutes or so, because I'm like, okay, well, I don't want to get stuck in the front row or anything like that. And then doors open up, and this entire line just piles into the theater showing The Mule. And it like really threw me for a loop at first. I was like, whoa, because the two theaters were right next to each other. So I was like, what? Okay, either The Mule's got a much larger audience than I thought it would, or
they're switching theaters.
All of these people just pile drived into the wrong theater. I knew they were going in the wrong theater because I already had my tickets that were showing that it was in one. And then I kind of noticed like, which maybe I should have noticed this beforehand, but I noticed the age of everyone standing in line. It's like, oh, okay. Well, all right. I guess I didn't really need to be standing in this line. And I even wonder if they got the trailers mixed up, because we sat down for Spider-Verse when the trailers started, and you had said like, well, here we go. We're going to get a trailer for every comic book movie coming out. And we got a trailer for Shazam, but that was it as far as comic book movies. And the rest were a movie from the creators of War Room, in which it's showing us clips from War Room at the beginning, and I'm sitting there like, ooh, sequel? Really? Because the balls of this movie to show clips of War Room, as if that's supposed to impress me. It's called Overcomer. Ooh. And it's starring
I think I've seen that movie, but I mean, it's only on the internet.
I think I reviewed that movie many times. And it's starring one of the Kendricks, who's one of the directors of War.
It's just a remake of the last like 10 minutes of Behind the Green Door.
That's okay. It also looks like a remake of the last half hour of War Room. So we got that trailer, and the one with the Dog's Way Home, where
that shows the entire movie.
You don't have to go see the whole movie. It just
man.
with that CG Puma in there. So okay. Well, anyway, we might as well keep talking. This will definitely be one of those videos where in the comments someone will put down, "Review starts at this point."
Like, people are watching and no one's chatting.
Oh shit!
Or did you
I turned. People are watching, but sorry if I turned chat on. I made sure to I always
Yeah.
double check to make. That's happened a couple of times where chat just doesn't turn on for some reason.
All right, well, fuck you.
Sorry.
No distractions.
Okay,
You
so
sit and you pay attention.
it was actually really, really appropriate that I went to go see this movie a day after seeing Mortal Engines, because both are movies that rely heavily on chasing and keeping this flash drive that's very, very, very intricate to the plot that's going on, which has to do with this giant like energy weapon that they're making. Both movies, I was like, wow, both movies have that very significant thing in common with each other. One just does it way better. This one just does it way better than Mortal Engines. And also, like Mortal Engines 2, I'm watching this movie just relishing in it from a visual standpoint.
Yeah.
The artistry of it, the animation, and everything. But unlike Mortal Engines, where that was really one of the only things that had going for it, was on a technical aspect, it was very ambitious and I could admire it from that standpoint, but it fell apart the second any character opened their mouth. This movie, yeah, on a technical aspect, certainly it's gorgeous to look at. It's consistently entertaining and just downright beautiful and awe-inspiring. And also, unlike Mortal Engines, also this one is really sweet with the characters. They're all really likable. They're lovable. They have great character arcs throughout the whole thing. Even really, really small, maybe not necessarily small character, but like a character who maybe doesn't have as much screen time as another one. They get little moments to shine. They get these really either very human moments or very, very, very funny moments. And again, in a couple aspects of it, I really love this movie, honestly. Like, I had a great time with this film. And again, like I said, it's like you see in the trailer, where a lot of it is like it's an animated movie where it is like looking at a comic book, down to little text that they have across the screen, even the little Easter eggs here and there as well that they do, like little like what do you call this? Like, okay, when he's typing at the keyboard and it just says like clackety clack above him, like
onomatopoeia.
Yeah, like little things like that. That was fun to look. I mean, what did you think? What did you think of it, like visually speaking?
Garbage.
Just dog shit, man.
Yeah, fuck. No, like, you know, how do I phrase this? Of all the fucking comic book movies I've seen, live action or animated, I gotta say this was probably the most like watching a comic book.
Totally, it was.
It was really kinetic and fun, and I liked how they did the just the way they shaded things with like the color dots. And things like that.
Yeah.
But the downside of that was the movie was so kinetic, and with that coloring and a lot of what they were going for, there were times in the movie where I really couldn't tell if the camera was having focus issues or not.
Oh.
Do you know what I mean?
I do, and I
don't know if that's my old man eyes.
Well, I mean, I was kind of wondering that too about myself in a couple of shots.
Yeah.
Where there were some times where it sort of looked like you're watching a 3D movie, but you have the glasses off.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There was a lot of that, and it was towards the end I had determined that, okay, this is kind of on purpose. They're using this to like push focus.
Yeah.
But it was kind of, for me as an old man, a little distracting.
The only reason why that didn't, because that was certainly something I noticed, but the only reason why it didn't necessarily pull me out of it, because I didn't know if
it didn't bother me too much. It just kept grabbing my attention.
Well, I mean, it was me too, but I also didn't know if it was a deal with a projector or if it was just simply the movie.
Well, and that was the question I kept asking.
Yeah.
You know, and it was just like, so I found that slightly distracting. But other than that, like, yeah, this was a visually, it just creeps me out when I hear cars.
Someone's still back there kicking your seat. Oh my God, they're here. I'm really sorry about the name I called you earlier.
Don't worry, I have enough weapons in the back of this.
Oh, thank God. They'll be safe. No, like but that was making me thinking like this. this probably is really, really cool seeing it in 3D.
I can imagine. Like,
yeah, we saw the 2D screening for it. So and there are IMAX screenings for it. There are real 3D screenings for it and 3D, whatever.
This would be a blast to see in IMAX, I think.
It would. It would be really fun to see in IMAX. It'd be really fun to see in 3D as well. And I would actually like to go see this again sometime and see it in 3D.
No,
but
it was really fun.
While, you could certainly say a lot about the visual style of the movie, how it looks like this real kind of literal movie adaptation of how a comic book feels, what it looks like. Even from a character standpoint alone, it is a sweet film. From Miles Morales' story, certainly between the relationship with him and his dad and him and his uncle as well, and him getting used to his powers throughout the movie, as opposed to them kind of happening randomly and out of his control through it, but also other characters as well. Jake Johnson is probably one of my favorite Peter Parkers that I've seen in a movie.
Well, because it's a Peter Parker you're not used to seeing.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like, the fun thing about this movie, like, they're really playing with the idea of the multiverse.
Yeah.
Which, they could have gone even crazier with this shit than they wanted to. But I think, like, you get the impression that the Spider-Man from the same universe that Miles Morales is from was kind of like the Sam Raimi Spider-Man, but add a couple years.
They even reference those movies as well. So it does sort of feel like that if that isn't this universe, it's certainly a universe that is
similar
one of them.
to it, yeah.
Yeah, because they are showing events from those movies. And Jake Johnson, is a Peter Parker, like you said, that we're not used to seeing. I like seeing this 40-year-old Peter Parker who is still Spider-Man, but is also, he's around, if not 40. He's a little out of shape. He's
a little depressed.
He's depressed. He binge eats. He's divorced. It was really fun kind of seeing him go through all this shit and then go through it in a completely different universe, in a universe where another Peter Parker is 26 and also married to Mary Jane. But also even on the part of the villain Kingpin, who's creating this mechanism so that he can bring back his wife and kids. So even from the villain standpoint, definitely an evil character, certainly, but it's a character. It's a villain whose motivation is like, okay, you're a madman, but I get why you're doing this.
And it's not often you have an animated movie where someone's chewing scenery from a voice acting perspective.
Yeah.
And Liev Schreiber was fucking doing it.
Yeah. Yeah, totally, man. Liev Schreiber also... Nick Cage was having a lot of fun as Spider-Man Noir.
Just being Spider, yeah.
Yeah, talking... Go ahead.
Yeah, just throwing out the...
30s slang. Yeah. You're the cat's pajamas. Like, you do it getting because he's from a black and white universe, so he's getting mesmerized by a Rubik's Cube. And no, all of that stuff with him was great. There were a lot of really funny lines there, like him kind of getting you see like little nods of him sort of getting used to this universe without it just completely just turning into just a fish out of water story with him.
Because he's a side character.
He is.
They give just enough to keep it interesting.
Yeah, they give him very funny lines, and it makes you want to see entire movies featuring these other characters, especially how they've really set it up to make them very lovable, like in the amount of time that they have. But even the glimpses that we do get of their universe, and with this animation to go along with it, like it makes you want to see other, like, spin-offs featuring more of where these characters are from. Like, so you'll have Jake Johnson, Peter Parker, dealing with his stuff. There's the lines with Nicolas Cage, of course, and then
Spider Noir.
You have Spider Noir, and then you also have John Mulaney as
one of my favorite comic book characters of all time, Peter Porker, the spectacular Spider-Ham, who was not a pig bitten by a spider. No, it was a spider bitten by a radioactive pig. That is the true comic origin, and it made me so happy that they threw that in as a throwaway line.
It was so funny. Whenever this character comes, it's hilarious because even he has to get used to this universe because he has the line where he's like, wait a minute, do animals not talk in this universe? And everyone's talking about, you know, powers that make them the superheroes that they are. So you know, some of them are talking about their webbing, whether in Miles Morales, who can turn invisible, and then it'll cut to Spider-Ham, who seems to exist in this Looney Tunes universe, go like, can you float in the air when someone sets a fresh baked pie out on the window? So, and he's just floating like you see in a cartoon whenever they smell something delicious. He pulls out mallets and hits people with it. He drops anvils on people. But like,
which isn't quite true to the comics, but it was played great in this movie.
It was played really, really well in this film, and it all tonally worked. Like, you'll have these moments with this post-divorce Peter Parker with Jake Johnson, things with Miles Morales, his uncle and his dad, and their relationship, and then mixed in with really, you know, cartoony stuff like this stuff with Spider-Man Noir or Spider-Ham, but it all works. It all does feel like it belongs in the same movie. They all play off of each other really well. When there's a really cartoonish laugh, it's very much earned, and when there's a really heartfelt moment,
it's earned as well.
It also is as well. It's by far and away, it's one of the best Spider-Man movies that I've seen.
I'm gonna agree with that. Like, and
thinking about it, it might, even though I just came out of this movie, like, it might actually be my favorite Spider-Man movie.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm there. I mean, I enjoy the hell out of this, especially because it's one of those things that, you know, 5-6 years ago, this kind of storyline, they might have done it as like an off 2-episode part on a shitty cartoon show on Fox Kids. But like to make, but like
cartoon all-stars to the rescue.
And it's also not quite the Spider-Verse comic book, because this is a real thing that happened in the comics.
Yeah.
They did the Spider-Verse, and there was like 80 different Spider-Man, and they hit like they did like the old Hostess Pie commercials and would throw in like the Japanese Spider-Man with the giant robot and shit like that. But I think the idea, they're like, okay, we're going to make a PG-13 movie for kids, so we have to change the villain, because in the comic books, what it is they're vampires that eat spider people.
Oh, okay.
So the vampire will like walk into the universe of the Hostess Pie, or the Hostess Pie Spider-Man, and just bite his fucking head off.
Perfect.
Yeah. Or he would walk into the comic strip one.
Yeah.
And then after like a week of strips, like, this takes forever, and just leaves.
See, maybe this will be the opposite Once Upon a Deadpool, and months from now we'll get the R-rated version of Spider-Man into the Spider-Verse.
I don't ever need an R-rated Spider-Man movie. I really
certainly
don't.
Yeah. No, I mean, and plus that would it might be a little out of place in what we just saw if they added R-rated material to this.
Throw in the Spider-Man Rain Spider-Man. That was a play off the Dark Knight Returns with an older Spider-Man fighting his villains as he's an old man, and it turns out that Mary Jane had died because since he's radioactive, so was his semen. And he gave Mary Jane cancer.
Well, see what
they got real dark with that shit.
What I would like to, I'll throw this out there too. What would have been also funny if they also threw in Turkish Spider-Man into this film. Especially the one from 3 Dev Adam, in which Spider-Man was the villain and fought Captain Turkish America. Sure. And Santo, and was a gang leader and also a rapist. And had these big bushy eyebrows peeking out of the Spider-Man mask.
Not every Spider-Man is a good guy.
Exactly. Oh man, if they threw in I would have. That'd be like #1 best movie of the year.
1, best movie of the year. 2, I don't care that we're surrounded by people. Must call Ed Glazer right fucking now.
And I mean, they throw out certainly a lot of references to, well, not a lot, but a few times in the movie, they'll where it's needed, they throw out references to like the Sam Raimi movies, but also little stuff too, like that like Spider-Man popsicle dessert bar,
and a couple of the Spider-Man desk meme and the pointing meme.
Oh yeah, they did that. Yeah, that was fun. The that dessert bar was pretty bad.
Yeah,
it was always so sad looking whenever you got that damn
all of
thing.
them. Anytime it's supposed to be a character, you like get it and you're like, oh, okay.
It's like, oh, sure. I just feel depressed eating this.
That's why you go. That's why you always go push pop. Always.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Totally. I don't like to. I don't like to look at my popsicle.
Or if you're feeling patriotic, a bomb pop. But
yeah. No, sir. Dreamsicle.
Yeah.
I love those. No, I highly recommend this movie. It was a lot of fun. It was a gorgeous looking. The soundtrack was fantastic.
Yeah, this is a pretty rockin' hip hop soundtrack.
Yeah, and it was a great musical score. It was a great soundtrack. The tracks that they used fit along.
It was a pretty seamless blend. For what they were. Yeah.
Visually, it went along with it too, from the hip hop in the soundtrack, and also at one point they even throw in St. Elmo's Fire. And that really worked. Yeah. No, so I totally recommend it. I had a blast at this movie. It's a really lovable film.
It's really fun. Definitely worth watching on big screen.
Any other final thoughts about the movie?
No. But just, because I have it with me, I'm going to finally prove a point.
Oh shit, this is going to turn into a 3D review.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is a nail gun. You cannot point a nail gun and fire it. See, I'm pulling the trigger.
My camera!
Yeah, no. Now, if I were to press it against something, then it works. But you cannot just point a nail gun and shoot it. Point fucking proven.
By taking this nail out of my shoulder. God damn it.
Oh, man, that's deep in the headrest. Oh, well.
That's just great. I would have loved it if it went through the it doesn't break it doesn't break my phone, but it goes into the cup that's against my phone and just leaks soda onto it and then breaks it. Like, well, that was a very cartoonish thing that just happened. I hope to God there was somebody who just tuned into this live stream.
Yeah, I'm just holding a nail gun.
Here's the nail gun, people. That's what I think of this fucking movie. Oh, jeez. There's like 12 holes in this shit.
I mean, there's an axe back there somewhere. We can get real weird with it if we want to.
If only you were here then when we reviewed Hell Night. Or Hellfest, that whatever that slasher movie was, Gino and I went to go see. Alright, so I'll talk a little bit about The Mule. The Mule is the Clint Eastwood movie in which he directs it, produces and directs it, of course, but he's back in front of the camera again on it. This is the one where he's playing around Eastwood's in his early 90s, and I think he's playing around that in this movie as well. So he plays a dude who his granddaughter's getting married, his business is going through foreclosure, he's got a handful of money problems that he's going through, so he ends up becoming a drug mule for this cartel, and fairly early on he figures out what it is he is transporting from point A to point B, but it's paying a lot of money, and he's getting like he makes like 18 drug mule runs in this movie, and you can tell like he just kind of likes doing it. He's getting a lot of money. He's getting himself like a gold bracelet, and dudes at like the VA will be like, "Oh man, sucks the VA's closing down. If only someone had a lot of money." And then it'll just cut, and then he's just on another run again. So like, hey, we could really go for a swimming pool. Oh, well, okay. I do like that he's playing a much more happy-go-lucky Clint Eastwood in this movie. It's not really like Harry Callahan, of course, or even like how he is like Gran Torino, Clint Eastwood. It's really not so much that. He's not really playing like, grizzled, hard-ass Clint Eastwood. He's just playing this sort of jovial, is enjoying the last few years of his life. Clint Eastwood, just kind of this sort of glasses half full Clint Eastwood, which is rare to see in a movie.
That's interesting because the trailers don't portray that shit. No.
What does happen though, which the trailers do kind of show a bit, is there's a lot of times in this movie where you kind of get a sense that this is kind of a self-reflection movie, that this is a movie where it's about a guy who, he's certainly enjoying the final years of his life, and he has a lot of people he gets along with, and he's got a bunch of friends who love him, and he's got a bunch of people who respect him, but on the end of his family, like, he's got an ex-wife, and it talks about how he was a shitty husband, he was a bad father, and so you sort of get a sense that there's a lot of self-reflection going on in this movie with some maybe demons that he has in his past, and he's kind of just putting that out there a little bit in sort of a... It kind of becomes about this guy who at one point in the movie even is talking to a younger person in the film and doesn't want them to make some of the same mistakes in his personal life that he did, and a lot of mistakes in this character's personal life is him being addicted to work and him focusing way too much on his work and not enough time on his family, and even also being a bit of a player too in this film. Like there's parts where he's just on the road and just gets himself a couple of hookers and a bottle of scotch. So that was interesting to see. It does feel like, from a certain standpoint, it is kind of a personal film for him, and there's a lot to admire in the sense that the turnaround time on this movie was really quick, and I have always liked Eastwood as a director, and certainly as an actor as well. He's one of my heroes growing up. But earlier this year, you had that 1517 to Paris movie, which is the worst movie that I've seen him direct at all and have his name attached to. And I'm like, you know what? Not only do I respect that this guy is still making any movie at the age he is now, let alone the rate that he makes movies, which is still pretty freaking high, but to also have this movie come out earlier in the year, which was not good at all, and then have this gigantic turnaround time for another movie that I think was just shot like last June and was shot fairly quick, and then had a quick post-production and is out in theaters here in December. I'm like, you know what, man? Respect.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna shut up because I'll say something offensive about Clint Eastwood. So I respect the man as a filmmaker and as an actor. And that's all I gotta say.
No, me too, and that's why I'm just talking about him as a filmmaker, as an actor. He is one of my favorite actors, but I mean, I'm not gonna get into a giant thing about his personal life. But here's the thing, though. While it's like, okay, like, the fact that this guy is still out there doing it and making this movie and having it out pretty quick, starting filming earlier this year, and now it's out by December. Yeah. It's like, all right, fine. I respect that. Here's the thing, though. This movie's kind of a mess. It's like, you know what? Maybe a lot more time should have been spent on this movie a little bit. Yeah. Because it's a mess. It's a likable mess. There's a lot of things I do like about it. Eastwood's very good in the film. There are little moments in it that really, really do work. It feels very first drafty. This is a 2-hour movie that you're watching, and things will randomly happen in it. And it goes a pretty big chunk where, like, nothing is happening. Like, you see this guy make, like, 12 different runs in his truck to deliver these drugs, and, like, nothing happens. And random... There were characters.
It's like, maybe let's cut this down into a quick montage. Nope.
Yes. And some things just are dropped from this movie. There are important characters who show up and serve a very important function and then just disappear. There is one guy who shows up and is like Eastwood's handler and serves an important part in like the second act of this movie, and then is just gone. There is the guy who even gives Eastwood the information to become this mule, seems to also kind of drop out of this film, and random things will happen. And it's like, it does feel very first drafty, because while on the one end you have this character who seems to be very self-reflective and kind of is regretful about a lot of mistakes he's probably made in his past, yet at the same time, you see a lot of scenes where he's just got a couple of hookers. and also, he'll be this kind of happy-go-lucky dude through a lot of it, but then at like 3 points in the movie, will turn into his character from Gran Torino and like say something racist, and it's random. Like, I'm not saying like, oh, this character's a racist. I'm not saying that. It's just, it's random when it happens in the movie, and it feels like you're watching a movie starring like, jolly old Don Amici, and then 3 times Archie Bunker happens. So there's a part where Eastwood, all 3 of these scenes I'm about to tell you could be cut from this film. There's one part where Eastwood is seeing these bikers working on their bikes. He's like, oh, can I help you gentlemen out? And they turn around and they're a bunch of lesbians, and they say like, we're the dykes on bikes. And then Eastwood's like, oh, well, that's cool. You got a problem with your engine there. And they're like, thanks, sir. And he goes, you're welcome, dykes. He's like, what? Why did that just happen? And then there's a part where he's doing this run, and there's this like black family pulled over the side of the road that needs their tire changed, and he gets and helps them out, and then it says like, I love helping you Negroes out. And then they're like, sir, you don't have to say it like that, really. You should say this instead. And he's like, oh, well, okay. And then he goes about his day. Like, there's a part where he's with 2 of the cartel members, and they're at some barbecue joint, like in the Midwest or something, and like everyone is just like all the white people there just like staring daggers at them, and the 2 cartel guys are like, why are they staring at us? And Eastwood says, because you're a couple beans in a bowl full of crackers. And then the scene just sometimes the movie is about something like this, like 3 times in the movie. There's like twice in the film when it's about racial profiling, and then goes on to something else. But
I like that phrase though.
I'm like, I can't lie. That was a good line. But again, like, just towards the end, like, Eastwood goes AWOL on his run, and the cartel members are looking for him, and they want him dead because there's been this coup in the cartel, in which the cartel is then taken over by evil Clifton Collins Jr., another character who just drops out of this film. And then, like, they're looking for him. They want him dead because he's been gone a week, and the reason why he's gone is because he has to attend to a loved one's funeral. And he's there at the funeral, and I'm watching this going, how is it so hard for this cartel to find this guy?
Yeah.
But there's little things I do. I like that he does kind of become friends with some of the cartel members throughout it. Like, he's asking them about their family, and they're having small talk. And there were little things like that I did like. Yeah. It's just... Oh, and Bradley Cooper is the DEA agent who's chasing him, and they have a couple of really good scenes together. Like, there's a part where they're just, like, in a Waffle House. Like, he's having breakfast, Eastwood's having coffee, and they're just kind of small talking about their marriages. That was really good. And, like, Eastwood's kind of giving him this advice, and it does sort of... There's something about it that does kind of feel like it's like advice that one director is giving to another. Yeah. And I like little moments like that. Again, it's just the movie's a likable mess. It is, because I did like some of these characters, and there are moments when it works, and then just other moments where
It just falls apart a little bit.
yeah, like, okay, there'll be scenes where his ex-wife hates him, and then scenes not long after where they're talking to each other just fine. And even some of the lines that they, like, a dialogue refresher could be, or dialogue polish could work wonders on this movie too, because there'll be Eastwood's job as he grows flowers and sells them, and he is talking to Diane Wiest, who's his ex-wife, and she says to him, like, why did you spend so much time on your flowers, your work? And he's like, oh, well, you know, they're things of beauty, and they needed time, and they needed care, they needed my attention. And she's like, so did your family. And I'm like, that's like an exchange we would see in a Pure Flix movie.
Yeah, that's real bad.
Granted, but it was Eastwood and Diane Wiest, so it was well acted. Like, I'll give it that.
Yeah, but still, like, that's some fucking hackneyed bullshit.
Yeah, man. I don't know if I'm really forgetting much else about the movie. I mean, I was the youngest one in there by far and away. It was kind of like being in a Pure Flix movie. There was a part where one person left to go use the restroom, but they were on a rascal. So I'm like, you know, sitting where we... I know, man, like, I'm sitting there, like, like in our usual spot, and then I just see beep, beep, beep in front of me, like, did this just happen? Hope that guy comes back, or someone's gonna have to check on him.
Oh, man.
I did enjoy that when he finally figures out that he's running drugs, that he's like shocked, like he opens the duffel bag and goes, holy shit. I'm like, dude, what do you think it was? When he goes to pick him up, they're standing there holding like fucking AK-47s and loading it, and just, yeah, come on in, SA. Like, what did you think you were taking from them? But I did like that, like, that was just really just kind of it's what that part you see in the trailer. Yeah. That's really the only time in the movie he actually kind of gives a shit, because after that, like, he doesn't really care. He likes the fact he's getting a lot of money and he's still making friends with these people.
Whatever. What's a little coke between friends?
Yeah, you know, one of the guys was, you know, you're in trouble because one of them is Gallardo from Nip Tuck. The other is Hector from Fast and the Furious. That guy who there's the joke image going around where it looks like every character he plays in a movie is named Hector. But you know, it's a mess, but it's got parts that really work. So it's a serviceable rental. Especially if you like Clint Eastwood movies. I mean, it's a serviceable rental. It's like, in the list of Clint Eastwood's filmography, this is somewhere in the middle, you know? Like, it's somewhere in the middle. Not all of it works. When it does, it's likable enough. So, anyway, that's people have chimed out of this since we stopped talking about Spider-Verse. Of the title of this video. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. The Mule.
Like, that's the villain in the Spider-Man.
The Mule. It's played by Clint Eastwood. Please, yes, for the love of God, let this happen.
I'm gonna kick you, Spider-Man.
What was it? I didn't even know you could be racist towards spider people. But anyway, so next week, there's a lot next week. I'm going to see a couple of movies on my birthday. Next week is like in the middle of the week, it's Mary Poppins Returns. Then there's Aquaman. There's probably like fucking 5 others. I don't know. You down for Aquaman next weekend?
Probably.
Excellent. All right. Well, Thanks for listening to me talk about the Clint Eastwood movie. All right, everyone. Hey, I'm so sorry that I can't see the chat. I would hit the button on the super chat that we got. Yeah, it's not gonna. It'll be when it lets you do that. It'll be green. So I'm sorry, chat, for whatever reason isn't working right now. Or you know what? It actually might be working because this one time this happened and you could still see it when you watch it in repeat.
Well, let's take just a random guess at answering what their question might be.
What's better, the Mule or pink Cadillac? Pink Cadillac, I guess.
Orange.
The answer is orange. The answer is always orange.
Yeah.
False. C. All right, everyone. Thanks a bunch. Take care.